Gold, gold everywhere, but not a drop to spend. There is so much talk about gold all the single time, all the way going back to ancient Egypt. I just watched a documentary 4,500 years ago. People, all they could talk about was gold, adorning themselves with gold and getting going on more gold. Now, what is all this talk that we still hear about it on FinTwit and all the other social media platforms that are out there? Gold, gold, gold. We're going to be digging into why it is so important, and it has always been important for 6,000 years, which is unbelievable. All right, so let's dive into a little bit. After all this talk, you guys, we have to wonder how on earth are we going? But you got to understand that the amount of gold ever created, ever mined, ever is almost all still on earth today. It's a beautiful metal because it can get melted down over and over and over again, and it has the best conductivity there is, and it can be pounded extremely thin. But the pile of gold that we can actually have mined on earth would only be the size of a couple houses. And I know what you're thinking when you see that. You have to be saying to yourself, what? It's impossible. It cannot be that all the gold on earth is the size of my house. Not even possible, right? That could fit all on your property. But that's all there is because it's so valuable, and it's only valuable because it's rare. If there was a lot of it on the planet, all of a sudden it wouldn't be worth very much. But one single ounce of gold, 1 ounce of gold is now going to be worth how much? That 1 ounce of gold in Canada, $2,800. If you're in the States, it's going to be just over $2,000 for 1 ounce of gold. Now, gold is super valuable, but we have to ask ourselves a little bit about why. It's such a great industrial metal. It's used in all electronics. It's used in airplane windshields, for example, in places that you wouldn't even think about it. All right, so we know that not a lot has been made, but try to look at some of the numbers. In the United States, they have 8,000 tons. Notice tons. How much is a ton worth? Well, a ton is worth approximately $64 million. Okay. So when they're saying that the United States has 8,000 tons, 8,133 tons times 64 million, it comes to gigantic numbers. Notice Germany has 3,300. But now notice this part. Russia, we know the problems that Russia is having. Notice that they went from 22.99 last year to 23.27. So they added 28 tons of gold to their reserves. China added 57 tons to their reserves. Let's keep going down the list. Oh, here's India. India decided to add 8 tons. What other countries added? Turkey added 30 tons. The Euro area added 2 tons. But when we're saying tons, we're talking each ton is going to be worth $64 million. And what's happening this year is central banks are buying gold at a record pace in 2023. And you have to ask yourselves why. Why is the big question. Now, right now, gold export from Chinese companies is prohibited by the government. The Chinese do not want any gold to get out of China except for panda coins. That's the only one that they want. So when you're looking here and you're looking at the list, and you can say, well, Russia, we know they're in trouble. They want to de-dollarize. Yes, China does as well. Could we trust Russia's numbers? Probably not. Can we trust China's numbers? Probably not. And as we go down, Turkey, they're in a lot of internal conflict about NATO and so forth in Europe. Would they announce the proper numbers? I'm not really sure. Singapore, look at Singapore's purchase. Singapore's 154 to 222. So they massively, I mean, that's, what is that, 40%, 50% more gold for Singapore. And Singapore, you must see that they're the standout. They're one of the strongest economies in the world, and definitely one of the strongest currencies in the world. So they're kind of sitting alone in a very advanced economy, whereas all these other ones, we know there's a lot of trouble in those countries, in Russia, China, India, Turkey, for example. Lots of trouble. So can we believe all of their numbers? Some of them, no. But well, let's just go with what they are. Even with the numbers that they are reporting, they are on massive buying sprees right now, massive buying sprees. And so we have to see that this could be a problem moving forward. All right, you guys. So if we move forward, then we know what's happening next month in August. The BRICS summit is being held in Johannesburg. And this is happening at the end of August, around August 23rd or so, something like that. Now, Russia is confirming that the BRICS countries, BRICS meaning Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, those countries are the ones that started the BRICS movement. But now there's 41 countries that want to sign up with them. So if we go and look up William Middelkoop, I strongly suggest that you watch this guy. He's really, really good. He's a very good economist and investor out of the Netherlands. But they're talking about having a new trading currency backed by gold in August. So this is going to happen. 41 countries have applied for the BRICS membership. So this is news that's adding new momentum to the ongoing de-dollarization trend unfolding in the global economy, and they are trying to move away from the US dollar. So we see a lot of this stuff coming up in the market. Here is one little tip that I would give you, okay? As a side note, do not mistake your desire with ability. And so I know that when they talk about a BRICS currency that's going to be coming out, they're saying, well, guys, this is so important. It's going to change the world as we know it. The BRICS currency could encompass 50% of the world's population, could be 30% of the world GDP. But here's the funny thing. Even if it did happen, which I don't know if it will, even if it did happen, China doesn't trust Russia to hold all of the gold and silver. Russia doesn't trust China. They don't trust Saudi Arabia to hold it. Like all these different hodgepodge of people aren't just like a bunch of friends that would back you up in a schoolyard fight out back. Their common bond is that they don't like the US dollar, but that's not enough for them to trust each other. And so if each party individually said, no, we're going to hold a whole bunch of gold, and they have it locked in a big gate in a big room, and they go, can we go and see if you have all that gold in there like you were supposed to? No, you got to trust me. Here comes the trust issue in the currency that we have today. As we know, gold and silver is not backed up by the currency anymore, or currency is not backed up by the gold and silver. So do not mistake their desire with their ability. There's a long way to go. Now, we also have to just throw out there, you tell me, if they wanted to have trillions of dollars of currency that is backed up by majority of gold and silver, mostly gold, just think of the amount of money that they would have to buy all these commodities off the market. If they did that and had to now put a purchase order in for gold, what would happen to the price of gold? It would skyrocket to the moon. So 1 ounce of gold would skyrocket to the moon, right? But who was the largest gold holder in the entire world? All of us would make money if we were holding a lot of gold at that time, right? But if we go back and try to take a look at who is the largest gold holder, oh my goodness, United States owns more gold than everybody. So their gold would go up. So by them trying to have their own gold-backed currency, they're going to have to put in huge orders to buy an enormous amount of gold. But then what? Then what? Are the United States going to be worth a lot more money? They're trying to get away from them, but in the same process, they could be enriching them. So this is why I want you to really think about what's going on in the future here, because a lot can actually change. There's a lot going on. So we want to know, number one, how gold has performed over history and why you should be buying it in your own portfolios yourself. So here is a chart going all the way back to 1897. Okay, all the way back. Gold and silver is on the bottom down here. You can't even see it. These two lines on the bottom, absolutely pathetic, right? How bad they are. They're barely even visible. So you're like, well, if I was alive in 1897, had a lot of money, I should have invested in the stock market, which is in the blue and the red at the top. I could have made a lot more money. Okay, but we weren't around in 1897. So why are we even looking at this chart? Okay, let's go back then and let's just try to be realistic. and put it towards around where I was born in 1980. Okay, so if I purchased the day that I was born, if my parents were incredibly intelligent and bought gold and silver for me, guess what? I wouldn't have made much money adjusted for inflation than to the gold and silver. To the stock market. I would have made a lot more money. But guys, my parents didn't have a lot of money in 1980. Okay, so what if I did it around 2000? Well, if I bought gold and silver in 2000, I would have made a lot more money than the stock market. The stock market now looks like a stinking chump. But David, just a couple minutes ago, when we were moving back, now all of a sudden, if I bought it in 1980, the stocks would have done better. So remember, it's always how people are portraying this information to you. Do not get sucked in by the people that want to make you believe one thing or another. If anything, I just want to encourage you to ask questions and to do the research yourself, because when you do the research yourself, your eyes are really going to open. So obviously, if I bought it in 2000, gold and silver would have been the best. Gold being the number one, I would have made 500%. That sounds incredible, right? In 2000. But in 2000, guys, I got to tell you, that's about when I started buying gold and silver. But let's move forward to maybe 2006. Okay. Well, if I would have bought in 2006, gold and the stock market all would have performed the exact same. What if it was in the bowels, in the very depths of the economy in 2010? If I would have bought in 2010 when real estate was beat up, stock market would have been better. Okay, let's fast forward just until all of the massive lockdowns happened, okay? If you would have bought just when the lockdown started happening 3 years ago, gold, silver, stock markets would have all performed the exact same. Okay, I'm hearing a collective like, wow, I had no idea that was the case, right? So you can go to this website. It's called Long-Term Trends. I think it's amazing, but it really shows you that you can't just believe it for first sight. I've seen this website quoted many times going, no, silver is the best, no, gold is the best, and it all depends with where you're placing that. So this is why you always need a little bit of gold in your portfolio just to give you insurance. Now, let's go off subject and come right back to it a second. In 2021, we were talking about it on our channel, and so was Chamath Palihapitiya. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos in 2021, December 2nd, they had sold $20 billion of Tesla and Amazon stock that year. 20 billion. You have the world's richest people selling $20 billion of stock. December 2021. Now let's look at the S&P 500. So they sold in December of 2021. Guys, look at the market. Is it just a coincidence that these guys sold at the exact top of the market? And as soon as they sold, the markets shot down? Is that like a just crazy coincidence? We cannot even believe that happened. Guys, if you're seeing the world's richest people dumping stocks, maybe you should ask yourselves, maybe I should be reevaluating my positions, right? So then comes my second part. We saw them doing that. When you see the news articles saying that central banks are buying gold at a record pace around the world. This is records since the 60s that they're buying up gold. You have to be asking yourselves the same as when Elon Musk was selling all his stocks. What do they know that I don't know? Should I be reevaluating my position in all this? And so when you're going to be doing this is what I want you to think about when it comes to gold and silver. This is not technically, I wouldn't put it as an investment. This is insurance. And it's cheap insurance to me because it's free insurance. I'm not paying a fee every single month that just disappears into a company's coffers waiting for a payout. I'm actually paying my own insurance. So instead of paying a $40 fee per month, you can put one of these every single month and put in an account for yourself, just so that you're going to be okay in the future. Gold and silver, they always say put a certain amount. Now, all of the gold bullion sellers out there are going to say put all of your money in it, sell everything. As you can see from the chart, when we showed you over the long-term trends, it really matters how much you put in, when you put it in, what's going to perform better. So most financial advisors, and which I am not, I am an investor, as you guys know, but I'm a real estate broker is what I actually do as my profession. But I could just tell you what I did is I've been buying gold and silver my entire life because my father was buying it at $200. And I started buying it at like $500. And now it's sitting in Canada at $2,700 or $2,800. So you hope that you never have to use it, but it's keeping up with inflation. It's doing its job for that. And you always have that rock to fall back on. So most people will tell you to have somewhere between 5, 10, 15, 20%. Don't put your whole bag in that. That's crazy. But you got to figure out for yourself where it's safest. And so gold and silver, gold does have a lot of applications. So does silver. Silver right now is used in every electric car. It's used in all the solar panels. Very important, 1 ounce. So this is what I think that you guys should be looking at it if I was you. And so there is, I know you guys are going to run out and go, how do I get a lot of gold? Now there's this giant asteroid that keeps popping up on the news and it's worth $700 quintillion. And they say that everybody on Earth can have $93 billion because this entire asteroid is made completely out of metal. Isn't that incredible? My mind goes a little bit crazy when I think of that because I think it's so cool. But I got to tell you, if you brought all of that here, if you thought you have a lot of inflation in 2021, 22, and what inflation we're facing now, our Peasley 4 or 5%, if you brought all that money down here and you get, that's the same as printing money, our homes would be made out of gold and a home would be made worth $7 trillion. Okay. So the difficulty to buy a house would be the exact same. It's going to act the same as printing money. Gold is an incredibly invaluable material, but it's only valuable because it's rare. Try to remember that. All right. So don't go up into space and try and do that. But I think it's cool if you could get up there before NASA, but NASA's sending up a ship. All right. So let me just share with this before I get going here. Gold, there's different ways to invest into gold. Okay, you guys. So when you want to get gold, my favorite, as you know, not my keys, they say in crypto, not my coins. Not my keys, not my coins. Is that what it is? You have to have physical ownership of it. Physical gold bars and coins. That is this gold bar right here. That is a piece of silver right here. That's what you need. You can have a novelty coin if you want out of gold, or you can have it from the physical miners. Physical coins and bars. Please note, you never want to keep this in your house. You always have to keep it in safety deposit boxes. Also, ETF miners. So you can have an exchange traded fund ETF. You could buy it in the form of a stock. It could be an ETF about miners, or it could be an ETF about physical. Now you have to make a call. Which one of those two do you want if you want it? But then you don't have to worry. Number one, you don't have to worry about storing it, correct? That's right. You don't have to worry about storing it, but you also have a third-party risk. What if the company that's holding it goes bankrupt? What if the government seizes it? I mean, the what ifs is kind of endless, right? So you can have your ETFs, either physical or miners. And so normally the ETFs and the miners are going to be the juniors, the small companies, or the majors, the big companies. You can have individual companies if you're feeling very brave and you just want to like one company. But again, that has a lot of risk on it. There's also something called streaming companies. Streaming companies are the ones that buy the rights to all future gold that actually comes out. So when we're talking about the future rights of gold, we're talking about they'll give them the money to open the mine up, and they say, all right, every ounce from now into eternity, I want to be able to buy from you for $1,500. And so if gold goes to $3,000, they've now locked in their purchase price. They can make a lot of profit off of it. Streaming companies are very, very cool. They're very big, but you also pay a huge premium for them. One of my favorite ones is bank accounts in ounces. In ounces. So normally when you go to a bank and you check into your bank, the bank is going to say, okay, David, you have $1,000 in your bank account. But notice it says $1,000. Instead, if you had a bank account in gold and silver, I would log in and it would say you own 0.4 ounces of gold. And at any time that you would like, you can now check out your gold in cash if you wanted to. But what sits in your bank account is sitting in gold and silver, not really susceptible as much to inflation. So you can have bank accounts in that way. There are also banks that you can actually hand them your gold and get a loan against it, the same as you would get a loan on stocks or something else that you have as collateral. So lots of really, really cool products that are out there right now. I suggest everybody is going to continue to look into this stuff because it's really important. Also, if you guys are interested, we also have an entire gold and silver course that we created. You can always go over to sellhigher.ca, which is my website, at products, sellhigher.ca products, on everything that I've learned from investing in gold and silver over the past 20 years. We have a course there that can really help people as well. So anyway, at the end of the day, gold and silver has been around forever. I told you the video that I just watched was in Egypt 4,500 years ago. People are being buried with gold jewelry, gold canes, King Tutankhamun. Think of them. Gold has always been freaking fantastic. It still has value forever. Try to show me a fiat currency that has been around that long. I can already save you the time. There is none. The longest money that's been around right now is the Great British Pound. Remember, a Great British Pound was 1 pound of silver. 1 pound. That's a lot of weight for one. Today, 1 ounce of silver is going to cost them like 30 pounds. So today, 30 pounds for 1 ounce, but before it was for 30 pounds, it was 30 pounds of weight of silver. So think of how it's diminished in value like crazy. So this is why if you would have just kept the metal from back then, you would have made a lot of money. So this is where we have to take some serious lessons, you guys. Us, and I'm talking specifically about Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, we're terrible with inflation, terrible. But if you want to learn a lot, please study Venezuela, Argentina, Lebanon. It doesn't really matter where. Even if you look at inflation in places like Russia that are hitting 20, 30, 40%. But these guys in these other countries are having 1,000% a year, sometimes 1,000% a month. Go look at the stories of Zimbabwe, Weimar, Germany. But you can learn a lot from them because these guys are making movements and strategic moves every single day because of inflation. And guess what? They're successful. But for some reason, us in the West, in the G7, we're all in trouble. And that is because we haven't paid attention to the lessons that our neighbors are facing right now. So if anything that I can encourage you, I encourage you to ask questions. I encourage you to keep looking for information. Gold and silver to me is a big, big answer for me and huge peace of mind. Also, please take your time, study things and study those in trouble markets. This book was one of a great book, Principles with Dealing with the Changing World Order. There's most of the things in here I agree with, a couple things that I didn't, but this guy is a genius. This is like a world history and economics education over the last 400 years in one book. Absolutely fantastic. Great read. I suggest it for everybody. All right, guys, I wish that you have a fantastic night. Do you have any questions, please send it my way. If this gave you any value, please consider subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, everyone.